Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I'm delighted to welcome an inventor, an entrepreneur, and as I just learned, a former colleague from ITC, Swastik Saurav Dash, to our program. Swastik, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Swastik is the co-founder and CEO of NeoMotion, and we want to talk a lot about NeoMotion. So, Swastik, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or your career?
Thanks. Thank you, Ashutosh, so much for inviting me to the show. That's a very great question, and I would go about it chronologically. I think they're kind of linked to each other in a particular way.
Yeah.
I think the first milestone is when I shifted from Kharagpur to Calcutta. My dad works in bank, and it was right before my 10th exam. While I was at the school till 9th, 10th, I used to be kind of the topper. You're somewhere over there, you feel that what you're doing is great, and you're probably the best. And then I went to Calcutta, and then I joined this. I was in KV, so I joined that, and I also joined a coaching institute. And when I went there, I found that everybody was like me, or probably brilliant than me. And that was a point where I was like humbled, and I felt that yes, there is so much more, and to look out for. People are great, and that's something which really made me work hard, and it's been a very important part of my life. The second milestone, I would say, is again linked to that, is when I came into IIT Madras. I think the 5 years over there, the kind of exposure that it has given me is simply unmatched. And I just wish that I could have stayed there for more, studied probably longer, spent more time with my friends there. But yeah, that the exposure that it provided in terms of the technical abilities, the kind of co-curricular activities and everything, and it shaped me. I spent my 5 years over there building different products, and what I'm doing right now is basically what I had done.
Right.
And the third milestone, I would say, is when we started NeoMotion and our first unit was shipped. It was a painstaking, probably 3.5 years of journey, but seen that the first unit being packed and sent to the customer, and the customer was happy, I think that was really wonderful.
Wonderful. So, Swastik, let's now talk about NeoMotion. Tell me about this venture and what are you doing there?
Yeah. NeoMotion is into developing products which can really transform lives of people with disability and elderly. We focus on mobility solutions, and as simply speaking, providing the convenience for a person to shift from place A to place B. Now it's such a simple thing, but the lack of a proper device or a technology can make this challenging. So what we do is build such solutions so that people can move around conveniently and live life to the fullest. That's what we do at NeoMotion.
Okay. And what was the reason, or how did you identify the need for quality wheelchairs?
Yeah, that's another interesting journey which I had. So in 2015, when I left ITC and I came back to IIT, so I was working on a development of an assistive device, called standing wheelchair. So as a test, for testing that product, we traveled across 40 locations in India, and we interacted with close to 200 wheelchair users. And during that journey, we really found out that what is the ground reality, what are the kind of products being used, what is the environment and setting where the products are being used. And we found two key gaps. Almost every year, 3 lakh wheelchairs are sold in India. 95% will be of the concept of one size fits all.
Correct.
Just to say, we are all wearing shoes, but shoes are of size 14. Now, are they really useful? So that's what is happening out there. And when it comes to outdoor mobility, we would have seen modified scooters, tricycles, but very few people can independently shift and transfer. So during the course of this journey, we found the challenges with indoor and outdoor mobility, and that's how we came up with the products that we're offering at NeoMotion.
And when you started this whole journey of wanting to design better, more friendly wheelchairs, what were some of your challenges?
Yeah, so I think this it goes beyond the product design. The way this entire space and this sector is, if you have to characterize that, there are multiple challenges, I would say. So, product development was probably more in control, and which if we work, we know that we'll get result out of it. I mean, the larger challenges in this space are like end users are not aware of how to specify a wheelchair.
Okay.
Be it end users as well as medical professionals, anyone who's related to the sector. If you and me we go and to buy a cell phone, we will ask, I need this much RAM, so much of battery life. When it comes to wheelchairs, I mean, the mindset is a chair, it has 4 wheels, it should be the wheelchair.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's far more than that. It fits to your body, it has to do so much more. And that knowledge is not present. So that's the first challenge. And that mindset check will be like a very important aspect of NeoMotion's journey. Second would be, it's primarily a donation-driven market. So the metrics are numbers, not the life cycle cost or not the overall improvement in quality. With so much, what is the maximum numbers that we give out to? But the impact, if they would invest in a quality product, would still be the same in the long run. But it's something which is absent over there. And obviously, lack of quality products, which is in our control and which we are working towards. These are the 3 key challenges.
So when I was reading about your Swastik, on your website, I saw 2 brands. One is NeoFly and the other is NeoBolt. Tell me about both these brands.
Yeah. So NeoFly is a personalized wheelchair, which means we build it according to the measurement of the person, the health condition, and the lifestyle. Just to say, like, we have our shirts and t-shirts of different sizes. It is available in different sizes, but it's not just one parameter, 10 different parameters which we adjust based on the person. At the same time, the kind of terrain that you want to go in, maybe you want to use it on a rugged, rough terrain, or probably in a smooth indoor terrain. The kind of tires that needs to go in will be different. So NeoFly, we build it in a way such that it suits your measurement, your health, and your lifestyle, and that results in a great posture. Every time you push the wheelchair, it's a fun and good experience. It's not like a burden. And when you sit on the wheelchair, when people look at you, you are more visible than the wheelchair. It kind of improves your self-confidence. You feel good about yourself.
Wonderful.
So that's what is NeoFly.
Okay.
And when it comes to NeoBolt, it's an attachment unit that converts the wheelchair to a bike. Now imagine I need to go out, I'm on a wheelchair. I don't have to shift to a car or a scooty or anything else. I just clip this thing from front. It converts my wheelchair to a bike, and I can go anywhere without the need to be dependent on anybody else. Okay. So these are the 2 products that we have.
Okay. And your NeoBolt, I'm assuming it complies with all the road transport rules and registration.
Yeah. We have specifically kept it at a speed limit and a category where you don't need a driving license or a registration. Nice. So there is an ISO 7176 category according to which we test the products. So all those things are taken care of.
Fascinating. So, over the last few minutes, you've been talking about customizing a wheelchair, fitting it to bodies, making sure size 14 does not fit everybody's feet and so on. My question to you, Swastik, is what goes into designing a good wheelchair?
Yeah, I think, So the fundamental thing, how we break it down, a wheelchair is a seating system and a propulsion system. So we deal with 2 of them separately. Right. Whether you're moving or not, you're sitting on it. So how do we ensure that all those things are taken care of? So in fact, in wheelchair service provision, a very important aspect is how we do the assessment. Conventionally, like a therapist actually needs to visit a person, in-person visit, take the measurements. We have taken all that thing remotely. So without the need to visit anybody in any person, we take all that data, we collect the measurements. For every user, we generate a specification sheet, and it is specific to that user. That goes into the assembly. The assembly instructions, they know how exactly each of these specification means, and then they assemble and it is delivered. So the key element over there is a very modular design so that it can be adapted to any particular user. Okay. I mean, we have a standard set of configurations. Further, people ask, there are requirements where we need to build custom parts. We do it on a case-to-case basis. So modularity is basically the key of how we approach our entire design.
Okay. And, few years ago, as long as my mother was alive, last few years she was in a wheelchair, and these are very, very impractical wheelchair that used to be available, and as you said very correctly, very customer unfriendly. My question to you is also that, when I go overseas and I see people who need wheelchairs have got their own, ability to move their wheelchairs, their motorized wheelchairs, etc. What is stopping us from getting those?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are multiple segments and categories, and what we are doing. I mean, one of the products, New Fly and New Bolt, is something which is more probably suitable for India. Like New Fly wheelchair, the similar concept exists out there in the Western world, and unfortunately, it's not here because of the prohibitive pricing. Even the price point at which we sell is probably 3 to 4 times more expensive than an Indian average, but we are 6 times as cheap as as affordable as
Okay.
compared to the Western counterparts.
Hmm.
So yes, I mean these two are our first product portfolio, and we have 3, 4 more lined up over the next 2 years. The idea is to bring all of them and adapt it to an Indian environment, because the ground clearance requirement, the cultural requirements here are very different, and if you just bring it and use it, they will not be suitable.
Cool.
So to ensure that all of that are met, and then we'll introduce the products
Okay.
gradually.
And how do you ensure that there is safety for
Yeah.
the person sitting on the wheelchair?
Yeah. So there are set standards which need to be followed to ensure that the products meet the safety requirement. And at the same time, there is also user trial. Like how much ever we say mechanical standards, the durability, the ruggedness, all of that is taken care of. But then there are features like sharp edges when a person is shifting, any injury and damage that needs to happen. So we ensure that our products are tried by end users for a given duration of time, and based on that, we make the changes. In fact, before launching the product, these were tested by close to 200 wheelchair users over different time durations. Some of them for a shorter duration, some of them for as long as 1 year duration. And based on those feedbacks, we finally fine-tuned, refined it, and that's how the products were launched. So, I mean, user being part of the development is a very integral part of our design process.
Fascinating. And again, since you're doing so much research with users, what are some of the infrastructure challenges that wheelchair users face in our country?
Yeah. That's a yeah. So there are multiple barriers and challenges that lie out there. But having interacted with the users, I have got this understanding and perception that I think whenever a wheelchair user has gone to a particular location, and if there was an infrastructural barrier, maybe on the second or third or fourth visit, that barrier had been taken care of. So I think it is also like we really cannot go about changing every infrastructure barrier, and where we may not see a utilization. I think the better way is when people go and visit and they request. I think people are human enough to go about and making those changes. So this is what I have learned from all the user interactions that I have had, and I think it's a very fair way to go about bringing change.
And one more question is that there are two human beings in a wheelchair. One is the person who sits on it, the other is the person who's the companion. How much thought do you give to the comfort of the companion? I mean, that individual is also pushing the wheelchair. That individual also has a lot of stresses of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the entire stakeholder mapping, it's not just the companion, but also the person who'd finally service it and repair it, probably the person who'd recommend it. All that needs to be taken care of and looked into when we design and build the product.
Right.
So, in fact, like when we build it, we ensure that the person who may need to assist is able to access. The ergonomics are right. We also have accessories to ensure that for the caregiver, it is very convenient. So all that is kind of part of the process. How you fold it, how you put it inside a car for probably taking it somewhere. All of that is taken care of.
Okay. And what can government and the communities do to make it more easy for wheelchair users?
Yeah, I think my biggest learning has been like it's the lack of education and awareness. If all of us start first in understanding that, develop an inclusive mindset. Yes, wheelchair users need to be able to go and visit, and if they do, there will be an overall. And it's not just the wheelchair users who will be able to access that place. Elderlies, prams. It is from a concept of universal design. It will make life for everybody simple. So anything new that is being done, if we just have that mindset built in at the design stage itself, things can be simple without any expensive infrastructural changes. It can be an integral part of how we are doing it.
Right.
So that's first. Second, at least all the people who are involved in this particular space, if they understand what a quality mobility solution should be like, what is it, how should it be specified? We need not know probably how to specify it, but an awareness about that it consists of so and so things. That would something again which would be really helpful in changing the mindset and ecosystem in the longer run. And third would be definitely, to the extent possible, assisting in bringing in proactively infrastructural changes for all the places that already exist. If they are done, if few state governments pick up, be a role model and showcase it, and I think that will be really nice. Same applies to the community also. I think education, I would say, is probably the key that I would say. If people know about it, a lot of things will change from there.
And, well, there are already wheelchairs available in this market. You were actually making a paradigm change in the way wheelchairs were designed and sold. What are some of the significant design changes that you have made as compared to the existing wheelchair? And then what have been your problems of scaling up?
Yeah, and the question just rightly connects both of them. It's the way we design also makes the challenge of scaling up very difficult and challenging, because we almost deal with one-to-one basis. It's not like it's a biscuit you pick it off the shelf and you walk with it. So multiple models, whatever we have developed, I mean, the idea has been that how do we build it such that it is really scalable. So there are certain parts, like in the overall design, everything has been made in a way so that things are adjustable. Like when we are actually producing it, it's not that we produce different parts, but having the element of adjustability built in ensures that from a mechanical product perspective, things are changeable. How we collect the data from the user was the second challenge. Conventionally, it was being done through an in-person visit. We have developed a platform through videos. By collecting photographs, we are able to gather the data. So that is the second intervention that we did. The third thing was, like, we cannot be present everywhere geographically to be able to deliver and physically make changes at this stage. Maybe going down the line, we may be able to do. So ensuring that door delivery is done, and all our training videos, after sales service, we have a repository of 60 videos which we have created, seeing which people can make changes on their own, and we also support them through video calls. So these were done. But having said that, for all of these, at some stage we are in, I mean, the key is to scale up, but it has been challenging. Even setting up production, the kind of vendors who would be able to manufacture our parts are automotive, and the scale at which they operate are huge, and we are not at that scale. So it takes time, but then we have got to a stage where at least we have delivered now 450 units. So it's been good.
Fascinating. And why is it always assumed that wheelchair users generally will be old and fragile? I mean, there are so many people who get injured, and there are so many people who are absolutely healthy, break a leg, and they need a wheelchair.
So, in fact, that's one of the narrative which we say is like, how often do we see a wheelchair user at a theater, at a park, or somewhere? I mean, elderly are probably the category, from a diagnosis perspective, who are actually outside, whom we are able to see. There are so many wheelchair users who could benefit from a wheelchair, but they're just lying at their home. We know a user who was lying on a bed for 15 years, just staring at the roof.
Wow.
Now, it just so happened that incidentally somebody met them, they got a wheelchair, and very soon after using the wheelchair, they came in touch with us, and then we were able to give them a quality. And the person is ages maybe 26, 27. So most of our users that way are in the active age group, like 25 to 40 years, who want to go out, do more in their life, but they're all inside. They're all confined to their homes because they're completely paralyzed. They have no ability to move. So we don't see the majority, the big chunk of the wheelchair users actually. So that's what we need to really change.
Interesting. So now let's move to some questions for you personally. So Swastik, someone who has or is building a fascinating new startup. My question to you is, what are some of the core values you believe in, or you believe in at NeoMotion?
Yeah, I think a few of them. First thing is like there's no shortcut. I think everything has to be done in probably a right way. I mean, we may do quick trials, quick iterations to get good pilot, get some feedback, get some traction. But at the back of the mind, we always need to be sure that, I mean, these are all tests and runs. Finally, it will work only if it is done probably in a right way, to ensure that finally the product and the end use, like what we started our journey to ensure that people live life to the fullest. I mean, there is a fulfillment that they achieve. Sure. And to ensure that, we need to ensure that all the loose ends are tied in. So that is something which we really believe in. And a few other elements would be like, as a team, the way we work, everybody is important. I think how excited the team is, how involved the team is, will only ensure that the product and the outcome is so good. So these are probably the two things I would like to share.
My next question to you is that, for someone who has seen a lot of, business being developed, company being developed, you're still very young, but from where you stand today, and as you look back and as you look ahead, what does success mean to Swastik?
Yeah, I think I have it keeps on changing with time. At the present state, probably for the last 2-3 years, how it has been. I think just being able to be happy is I think that I can define as a very overarching state of success. Whatever we are doing, if I'm happy, the people around me are happy, I think that's something which it's something very fundamental which I can stick with. So as of now, it has helped me. I'll see how much forward I go ahead with it.
Absolutely wonderful. And a follow-up question to you is that who or what inspires you?
Yeah, I think on a very short-term basis, like how an everyday looks like is for me, that's a sense of inspiration. If I start my day with a particular time, do my yoga, do the cooking, reach office on time, ensure that everything that I had planned is ticked off, end the day, spend quality time with family. If it ends well, I think the next day when I get up, the inspiration is even more. So on a daily basis, that gives the energy. And definitely on the long term, the areas of interest to me, like I love design, I would like to work in an area of social impact, I would like to spend my skills in a meaningful space. So on that note, the kind of work that I am doing, that's something which excites me. And when you deliver to a user and they give you a good feedback, that what we wanted to deliver, it was actually delivered. That's definitely a great excitement that way.
Fantastic. Just as an aside, I wanted to ask you, I should have asked this earlier, is there a market for second-hand or refurbished wheelchairs?
Yeah. So presently, in fact, there are a lot of users in India who use refurbished wheelchairs from the West because of the price constraints, but because they do offer a good quality and they improve their quality of life. Here also, as we are developing the products now, we have had users who have used our pilot units for a 1 year duration, and we replace those units to them. But those units are still in a condition which we can give it to end users who can use it and still reap benefits out of it. So there is definitely a market for that.
Fascinating. My last question to you now, Swastik, and this is for all the thousands of people who are going to be listening to us. You're a professional manager that became an entrepreneur. What is your advice to young individuals who are starting off on their entrepreneurial journey? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think having patience in a right way is extremely important. Like we start with something, like when we start, if I look back 5 years, like we start with a particular vision that this is what, that energy, the fire would be for a particular reason. And in between, so many things will happen that will say, that is not working, that is not working. I think everything just fails. But then we started with that, and as long as we're able to keep that fundamental goal ahead of us, be inspired by it, and have patience that, okay, fine, this is just a phase which will just pass. I think that's something which I have felt has has helped me in multiple ways. So that would be my message to budding entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. I mean, it has been such a pleasure speaking to you. I mean, I have been a user of a wheelchair for my mother, but I did not know that this is such a big and such an involved design challenge to keep, curating wheelchairs for every customer. Thank you so much for sharing such amazing information.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for the opportunity. It was likewise pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.